Update. Am I wrong for ending a 20-year marriage because I learned my wife cheated on me while we were dating? Original post. My wife, 44 female, and I, 43 male, have been married for 20 years. We started dating in high school when I was a junior and she was a senior. We were long distance for our first 2 years of college. While I was in high school and did 1 year at community college. Then we went to college in the same city for a year and have lived together since. We got married the summer after I graduated college. Our marriage has been pretty great so far, but I initiated a divorce after I discovered that she was sleeping with multiple other men for the 2 years we were long distance. Just after Christmas, we got together with a few friends of hers from college to catch up, have dinner, and hang out. We talked about a lot of stuff, and my wife mentioned that we met in high school. Not that we dated, just that we met. Her old college roommate commented that it was crazy that we met in high school, had a few wild years in college, then ended up together. I played along and commented that I didn't know if my wife was as crazy as I was. The roommate started to tell a story, but my wife cut her off and said she was uncomfortable about it. I sensed something was up, so I said that we actually started dating in high school and we were together for my wife's entire time at college. All of my wife's friends got really quiet, and the rest of the dinner was awkward. On the way out, one of her other roommates took me aside and said I should have an honest conversation about what happened at college. I asked my wife on the way home and she kind of blew me off. I told her it was important that she was honest with me, and again she said it wasn't important. When we got home, I told her I was going to stay at my brother's house until she was ready to talk about what happened in college. The next day, she came over and admitted to sleeping with several men during her first 2 years at college. She said she didn't consider it a big deal at the time because we were long distance, and she didn't think high school romance would last. I pressed for more details, and she said it was at least 10 different men, including at least 3 guys she introduced to me as friends when I came to visit on weekends, and 1 guy she was still in contact with. I told her that I wanted a divorce, and would be starting the paperwork as soon as I could, which I did on January 2nd. Her family and most of my family is telling me I shouldn't throw away my marriage over a few mistakes. I've stood by myself that cheating on me with multiple men for years is unacceptable, no matter when it happened. And the fact that she continued to maintain relationships with these guys right in front of me was an unacceptable amount of disrespect. We have 2 children, but they are 17 and 19, and I believe they will understand why I need to end a marriage. Am I wrong for leaving? I feel like I'm going crazy with the amount of people telling me to overlook years of infidelity and decades of lies. Now for the top comments before reading the update. 10 guys can no longer be described as few mistakes. Also, note that she said at least 10 different men. So first of all, the number could easily be 15. Second, the different means that she has slept with some of them, or most of them, multiple times. Some of the guys she probably let OP shake hands with were regular F buddies, and she let her boyfriend hang out with them and went to get plowed when he went home from the visit. She cheated and lied to them, maintained contact with at least one of her buddies, and introduced you to many of the guys that were banging her. That is not only dishonest, but cruel. I think you are 100% in the right. Who knows what else she's done? You have no way of knowing. Yeah, that's the part that stuck with me most as well. My marriage ended primarily due to my ex cheating on me. The part that hurt most was that it was with her coworker, someone she made quick friends with and someone who was trying to be friends with me too. We had him and his wife over to hang out, and just him over on multiple occasions. Cheating sucks either way, but to be so brazen about it by waving your affair partner in front of your partner's face is something else. Certainly made me feel like a tool. I wish you the best, OP. Don't let anyone tell you it's not so bad because it was a long time ago. She chose to keep it a secret, and would have continued doing so. I guess she didn't feel that guilty about it. That's not someone you can trust. This makes me recoil, the sheer cruelty of it. How do people cheat? How do people do this? It's psychological torture to the one person who loves you more than anything and became your family. They're utterly selfish, driven by lust, and have no regard for anyone but themselves. That's how. Edit. I'm glad I did this with a throwaway because the response here is unexpected. I obviously can't answer every question/comment, but I wanted to provide some detail for common questions. The reason I posted this is that my wife and a few friends have been saying it's common to sleep with other folks when you're in a long-distance relationship, and that I'm kind of the odd one for not sleeping around. I felt like I was being gaslit, but I wanted an outside perspective. We live in a state with a waiting period to finalize a divorce, so I felt it was a reasonable idea to get some insight before things are finalized. After these comments, I see a handful of folks saying it's normal to sleep around during a long-distance relationship, but it seems to be a significant minority. We saw each other a couple of weekends a month during the 2-year college period. I lived about 3 hours away from her college, so it was long distance but not like cross-country. This was not a situation where we went months without seeing each other. The 3 guys I met while she was in college were meetups that happened during parties. The subject of me being a boyfriend didn't really come up, so I honestly don't know if these guys knew anything. The one guy we're still in contact with married a mutual friend from college. This is not some guy she secretly messages on the side, it's somebody we've talked to regularly for years. I've talked to him a few times since I've learned about my wife. He said he didn't know we were dating at a time, and has since blocked my wife on social media. Some folks have asked how the roommates didn't realize at our wedding that the timelines didn't work out. The main reason is that my wife and I had a very small ceremony with just close family in Texas, then went back to the East Coast to have a big party with friends. The typical reception/sharing details about how we met stuff didn't really happen, so her roommates didn't realize we started dating before college. It sounds like they thought we only dated for the year we were both in the same city, then moved in together. I was open to therapy or some kind of attempt to save the marriage, but her insistence that this whole thing is common and I'm the one who's out of line is just too much for me. The only time she showed any remorse or even offered to reconcile is when I started filing paperwork. In the last week, she's gone back to saying she's right and I'm overreacting. This is also why I feel like I'm being gaslit. It seems obvious that this is a major issue, but I've got my wife and others telling me it's normal and I'm overreacting. I'm not getting a paternity test unless my kids want to get one. I don't have any doubts that they are biologically mine, and no test will make them not my kids. I love them more than anything in the world, and my wife's infidelity won't change that, even if one or both of them is not biologically mine. They've been my kids for 19 years, and they will be my kids until I stop breathing. Final edit. Hey all, I've been reading a bunch of the responses, but things are getting crazy and increasingly unhinged, so I probably won't be checking in more. Here are a few more answers to common questions I've seen. We were definitely exclusively dating at the time. First, dating culture was a lot different 20-ish years ago, and exclusive was kind of the default for most people. Second, we had a long and difficult discussion before she left for college about continuing the relationship long distance. She specifically wanted to stay together, and even joked about her dad coming after me if I started sleeping around with girls at my school. Finally, at my senior prom, she was not able to attend and was very upset when I proposed going with a platonic female friend of mine. As a result, I ended up skipping my prom and hanging out with her instead. While we never said a word exclusive, I think the above reasons, combined with a general relationship before she left, are enough to assume exclusivity. Based on some comments here, I followed up with a friend that said I should have an honest conversation. She told me that 10 guys would be on the low end, and that her biggest concern was that there was apparently at least one pregnancy scare that I didn't know about. I honestly don't think that really changes much. It's less about the number for me, and more about the fact that she seems incapable of recognizing why this was wrong or why I feel betrayed. Thank you all for the helpful responses, even those that disagree with me. I will still be open to therapy if she's willing, but I honestly feel like it would be more about us being successful parents and finding closure than saving our marriage. Now 40 updates a month later. My wife and I are seeing a couples counselor and have been to 3 sessions now. Based on what my original post outlined and what we've talked about in counseling, I'm still moving forward with a divorce. I believe that counseling was the right move, and I appreciate folks for recommending it. I don't think it's going to save our marriage, but it has helped me communicate my feelings, helps my wife understand where I'm coming from, and most importantly, helped us to be in a position to work together as co-parents. First, let's talk about the things I learned about the situation in college. After talking to my wife in sessions and texting with 2 of her roommates, it's clear that her roommates knew something was up in college. They said they thought the situation was weird and likely involved cheating. My wife had told them that we both had some wild times in college and worked it out before we got married, so they never really brought it up. The roommate who pulled me aside recently was uncomfortable with the fact that my wife clearly didn't talk it through with me and wanted me to know. As far as being introduced to the guys she slept with, apparently that was not intended. For one of the guys, he ended up dating and then marrying one of our mutual friends from college. This is the guy she was in contact with. In the other situations, she initially blamed me in the counseling session, but has now agreed it was bad. When I went to visit her, she planned to hang out in the room or just hang out together alone, but I wanted to go to a few parties. Because in high school and community college, I didn't really have parties to go. She didn't expect me to meet the guys, but they were at the parties and she felt she didn't really have a choice. I still think this is kind of crappy, but it's not as bad as her intentionally parading me in front of the guys. Most of our discussion in therapy has been talking about why I think it's a big deal and she doesn't. She initially said that none of these guys were in relationships with her, and it was mostly one-night stands or friends with benefits. Since she didn't view them as romantic relationships, she didn't see the big deal. Her words, not mine. My opinion is that we never said that was okay, and she actively prevented me from doing the same. After digging into this across 2 sessions, and my wife talking to some friends, she now agrees that it was a breach of our trust/relationship. This is the shared understanding that has helped us talk about this situation more honestly and helped us get from arguing to talking, which is why I'm optimistic about co-parenting. Now here's why I'm 100% set on divorce. 2 things came up that make me want to leave the marriage. First, about 10 years ago, we went through a really rough patch and had a dead bedroom for about 2 years. She had expressed that our intimate life was becoming boring, so I tried to spice things up. Apparently, she had been hung up some sexual experiences that happened in college that she is not comfortable talking about and wanted me to try them. But when I did, it made her feel awkward and guilty that it made her think of other men while she was with me. The fact that she's saying these experiences were meaningless, but they're still impacting our marriage, tells me they meant more than she wants to say. Second, she admitted that she has been flirting with coworkers on business trips since the pandemic ended. She says she has never slept with anybody, but it got as far as going on a date with one of her male coworkers. That was the absolute deal breaker for me. We have told our children that we're getting a divorce. We told them it was due to some bad decisions that we made in college that we're having trouble moving past. My 19-year-old who is in college asked me if I cheated on my wife while she was away at college. My wife got a little shaken up but admitted to the kids that she's the one who cheated. We have agreed to not share any additional details with the kids. I reinforced that both of us will be there for the kids and that we are in therapy to help make sure we handle this in the best way for the family. I also told the kids that if they wanted to talk to either of us or a therapist about it, that I would fully support it. We've started talking to a mediator about how to proceed with a divorce. And unless things change, we should be able to have an amicable divorce. We're both financially stable on our own. We have no major debts and our kids are older, so custody isn't a major issue. This has been a crappy couple of months for me, but I'm doing okay now. And I honestly am grateful that my last post blew up because it both validated some of my feelings but also motivated me to go to counseling with my wife. Edit. A couple of things to add in response to comments. I know she probably cheated more than she has admitted. Once our dead bedroom situation from years ago and a date with a coworker came up, I accepted that this has probably been going on at some level for our whole marriage. I'm not glossing over that because I'm an idiot who believes she's telling the whole truth. I have enough truth to know this is the right decision, and that it was more than just college. Adding more detail won't change anything. In this post, the last post, and in a lot of messages, people keep asking if a hall pass would help fix things. It won't. I don't believe that more cheating will solve the trust issues. That may have worked for other people, but I really don't think that's going to help us. My soon-to-be ex and our counselor know about the Reddit posts. I was upfront with both of them about it. I've kept this anonymous enough that I doubt anybody would guess who I really am, and this has helped me process things. In all honesty, seeing both sides of the issue has helped me, and reading the comments on the last post helps my wife better understand some of the frustrations and hurt I feel. I don't necessarily believe sharing all these details in Reddit is the healthiest way to handle a situation, but I don't have many close friends I can share with who aren't also mutual friends with my wife, so this is kind of a way to talk through it. Has she even apologized for everything she put you through? Especially the part where she went on a date with some a-hole? Before our counseling and at the first appointment, she was not apologetic. At the second appointment, the focus was for me to explain the effect it had on me. She has expressed remorse and apologized repeatedly since that session. It's too little too late, but she's not some kind of emotionless monster. Was a slapper, always a slapper. She as well have been cheating the entire marriage. She just ain't owning it, as she knows she couldn't gaslight that way. The fact that the kid automatically asked if he was the one cheating, that would insult the heck out of me. As well rid of that toxic tart. To be fair, my 19-year-old daughter had some issues with crappy boyfriends, who have either cheated or dumped her suddenly to be with somebody else. I'm also the one who left the house. Given her experience with men and the fact that I'm the one who left the house, it makes sense that would be her first thought. When cheating came up, my wife made it clear that she was the one who cheated. To be honest, I'm not really too concerned about the narrative here. From what I can tell, she hasn't said anything bad about me to our kids. In addition, given her admission of recent flirting/cheating and the fact that she's ready to file a joint amicable divorce after 6 weeks and 3 counseling sessions, I think she was ready to move on before I was. It makes the logistics of the divorce easier, but it hurts a bit to realize she's having an easier time walking away from a 20-year marriage than I am. Sorry that it came to this, Hopi. Good luck moving forward. Don't be. He's already wasted 20 years. This is for the best. Sucks that it took 20 years though. Clearly his wife cheated physically and emotionally over the years and kept it all from OP. That would eat me alive inside, even if I kept it to myself. 20 whole years based on deceit and manipulation. Keeping a cheating partner in her life. Makes me wonder if the guy's wife even knows about their intimate past, because most partners wouldn't keep a past partner in their lives. Especially one that a friend knew had a history of cheating. Pretty clear they never told her because the guy blocked OP's wife immediately. Not only did she cheat back then, but then in therapy admitted to going on a date with a guy and flirting with work dudes. That's messed up. I'm so sorry, brother. Last story. Am I the a-hole for not coming to terms with the fact that my wife cheated on me 14 years ago before our marriage? I, 35 male, am married to my wife, 37 female, for 11 years and together for 14. We have a beautiful 7-year-old daughter, and our marriage has been great without any major problems until last year. Last year, I learned that my wife cheated on me before our marriage. One of her friends became religious and confessed her actions to me, which had me confront my wife. She was shocked that I learned it and apologized profusely about her actions. However, she said it's not something important now because we have been going strong and have a family together. She told me I should come to terms with it, since it happened 4 months into being exclusive and she was a stupid girl out of college back then. My mind told me the same. It happened 14 years ago and we were happy right now. So I decided to forgive her and continue our usual life. Reality was not that great though. My mental state took a big hit. I realized it's not something that happened 14 years ago for me. The cheating happened for me when my wife confirmed it. I was less confident, could not be intimate with my wife. Just could not get it up for her. This turned into feeling disgusted being around her. I even took a DNA and STD test secretly. Thankfully, our daughter is mine and I'm clear of STD. Then a year of intense individual therapy started for me. I realized I needed to change somehow. I was not the same person I used to be. I also communicated my feelings to my wife, and after pushing a bit, we started going couples counseling too. However, at the end of everything, I decided to proceed with divorce. Here are my reasonings. She not only cheated back then, but lied to me for 14 years. She did not confess the action herself. Even though she apologized, she dismissed the facts by saying it's not important anymore. Young me was robbed of having a choice. Cheating was, and still is, one of the biggest deal breakers for me. If I knew it back then, I would have broke it off. I am happy with my life, and I am glad that our daughter came to the world. She's the light that shines the brightest for me. One of the biggest reasons I keep living. But I still was robbed of a choice back then. Individual and marriage counseling could not fix our problems and my feelings towards her. It also started affecting family life, which could affect our daughter. I think our daughter would be better off having us as co-parents, instead of living in a broken family environment where consistent arguments are present. Life is basically dead for me. We do have sex, but I feel like those women on film/series that just lay and look at a ceiling waiting for it to be over. The only difference is that I'm a man. I do not even want non-sexual gestures anymore. Last week, I had to sit down with my wife and explained everything I wrote here in detail. My feelings, reasonings, and some other private things. I've been talking to a lawyer for the last month, and papers are almost finalized. 50-50 custody, 50-50 assets sharing, and as amicable as possible. I explained everything thoroughly and clearly to her. She freaked out and had a panic attack. We spent the night at a ER. She's begging me to reconsider and not throw away 14 years. However, even though I would like to stay, it will result in us being roommates and a broken family environment for our daughter. Am I in the wrong here? Now for the top comments. This isn't an a-hole or not question. You aren't able to love her the way you did before. You no longer trust her. Your relationship is dysfunctional. Therapy didn't help. Calling you or her an a-hole will solve absolutely nothing. All you can do now is to make the separation as smooth as possible for your daughter. Someone else wrote this in a thread months ago and I still remember it. The affair happened 14 years ago for you. It just happened for me. Like she's had 14 years to process and lie about it, and then to just let it go. For Opie, this just happened. He's still dealing with all of it. And not just the affair, but the 14 years of lying by omission too. It's brand new to him. Also, Opie, not the a-hole. Also, the wife is an a-hole. Not the a-hole, and I'll tell you why. Even though she apologized, she dismissed the fact by saying it's not important anymore. The only thing that infuriates me more than cheating is someone being dismissive of their cheating because it happened so long ago. It's not old news for you. For you, it just happened because you just found out. Now, even if your wife had been truly apologetic and contrite, I would say you weren't the a-hole for not being able to let this go. But the fact that she tried to sweep it under the rug and pretend like it doesn't matter? Huge red flag. Plus, you clearly can't look at her the same way. Get out. It's a shame you couldn't have found out earlier, but at least you know now. End the marriage. It's best for both you and your child. Opie tried to make things work, but it's clear his feelings for his wife have fundamentally changed. We can control our action, but not our emotions. Insisting on a loveless marriage can make things even worse. It's more about the 14 years of lying than the cheating. You're still young. Honest love is still waiting for you. Yep, the whole "it happened so long ago" argument doesn't wash. All that does is make me think about every moment, every smile, every look, and how they could have been actively deceiving me about something like this the whole time. If they're capable of lying about something that big, how do I know they're not hiding other things? Frankly, I would probably be less disgusted if my partner came to me and confessed an indiscretion that happened the previous night. I couldn't forgive it either way, but at least they weren't so shameless as to lie about it for over a decade. Don't blame OP in the least. My stepdaughter wants her real dad to give her away. Plus updates. Original post. My stepdaughter will be getting married on August 3rd. The wedding planning has consumed most of her and her mother's life for the past 6 months. I say her mother because we aren't married, though we've lived together for 10 years. My stepdaughter graduated last December from university. I paid for her to go to college. Though it was a state school, it still ran $40,000. She does not have a job and has been living with us for the duration of her college career and since her graduation. I also bought her a car to get back and forth from school when she finished high school. From time to time, her deadbeat father would pop into her life and she would fawn all over him. Although he has not contributed a cent to her education or paid any child support, she still loves him and wants him in her life, though that is my girlfriend's fault as child support was not part of the settlement. He stays long enough to break her heart by skipping town and breaking some promise that he made her. So, the wedding venue holds 250 people max. I gave them a list of 20 people that I want invited, since I was paying for everything. They told me that was no problem and they'd take care of it. So, I let these people know they'd be getting an invite and they should save the date. This Saturday, I saw one of my friends on this list at a golf course and asked if he was coming. He told me that he wasn't invited. He told me that he got an announcement but not an invitation. He had it in his backseat, along with probably 6 months of mail, and showed it to me. Sure enough, it was just an announcement, and my name was nowhere on it. It had her dad's name and her mom's name, and not mine. This led to a pretty big fight with my girlfriend, as I found out that none of my list of 20 made a cut for the final guest list, because 250 people is very tight. I was angry, but not a hell of a lot I could do, because the important people in my life had already been offended. My girlfriend said if some people didn't RSVP, yes, I might be able to get a couple people in. But that is an ultimate slap in the face in my opinion. So, I was boiling on Saturday. Yesterday, we had a Sunday dinner with the future in-laws family and us, and a surprise guest, the real dad. At this little dinner, my stepdaughter announced that her real dad was going to be able to make it to her wedding, and that now he'd be able to give her away. This was greeted with a chorus of, "Oh, how great," and "how wonderfuls." I don't think I ever felt so angry and so disrespected. I was shaking. I took a few seconds to gather my composure, because I honestly wasn't sure if I would cry or start throwing punches or both. Once I was sure I'd be able to speak, I got up from my chair and said I'd like to make a toast. I can't remember exactly what I said, but the gist of it was this: I'd like to make a toast. The sound of spoons against glasses rang in my ears. It has been my great pleasure to be part of this family for the past 10 years. Aw, how sweet. At this point in my life, I feel I owe a debt of gratitude to bride and groom because they have opened my eyes to something very important. Confident smiles exchanged. They have showed me that my position in this family is not what I once thought it was. And now a glimmer of confusion and shock begins to spread on the faces in the room. Though I once thought of myself as the patriarch or godfather of the family, commanding great respect and sought out for help in times of need, it seems instead that I hold the position of an ATM. Good for a stream of money, but not much else. As I have been replaced as host, both on the invitations and in the ceremony, I am resigning my financial duties as host to my successor, a real dad. So cheers to the happy couple and the path they have chosen. I finished my drink and said, "You all can let yourselves out." Is this selfish? Am I supposed to shell out 40 to 50 grand for a wedding that I can't invite anyone to? That I'm not a part of? I'm so done with this crap. I'm done with my stepdaughter. I'm done with my girlfriend. I transferred the money out of our joint account last night. She has not had a job since she moved in with me. This morning, I called all the vendors I had written checks to for deposits to refund my money. At present, it looks like I'll lose around $1,500 for the venue, but the other vendors have been great about refunding. Now for the top comments before reading the updates. Sir, I respect the stance you have taken and find it disgusting that you would be treated this way after 10 years. The best of luck to you. Ah, catharsis. Seriously, OP, come back in a week and let us know. I swelled with pride listening to how you stood up for yourself. Finally, a good word spoken. Never let others determine your value. I applaud you. This, after 10 years of some sentimental security, if we can call it that, and investment, it takes a great deal of courage for a man to stand his ground and clearly, not passive-aggressively, refuse to take any part of it. It would be totally understandable if they had given even just a small consideration to your wishes. But to leeches like these, just shake them off your back, man. I would have been even angrier. You paid for her college. You were going to pay for her wedding. And they couldn't even do the bare minimum of inviting your 20 people? That is just pure disrespect towards you. I would get out of that toxic environment right away. I can't believe the mother would do this and allow it. As a woman who got dealt a deadbeat addict horrible piece of crap from my son's father, I'm amazed. I found a great guy who has been there for us. If my son acted like this, I would put him in his place. Real dad or not, this guy has been there day in and out. She could have even opted for both of them to walk her down the aisle. The worst part is, here is this man who grew to love her as his own. So much so that he wanted to invite people he loved to share in celebrating her love, and she basically said, screw that. Didn't even tell him. Just hid it behind his back. You handled that beautifully. I'm a young woman with both a real dad and stepdad in my life that I love very much. I've often wondered which would walk me down the aisle. My two dads hate each other, so I worry about offending the other. Would you have felt better if she asked the both of you to walk her down the aisle? As in one dad on each arm? Your situation is probably different than ours. If real dad has contributed time and money to raising you throughout your life, has shared in alleviating the anguish that is bringing up a teenage girl rather than contributing to it, then you should be fine. Ask them both to meet you. Ask them both to do it as a favor to you. No man could refuse that. Very true. Sometimes you have to put your differences aside for the sake of someone else's happiness. My sister and I have a very similar situation. Our real dad has never paid for a single thing and has hardly been in our lives at all. He was and is an alcoholic, and my mom chose to take him out of our lives when I was 2 and my sister was 5, and then she married another man when I was 6. Our last names were switched to his last name, and when my mom and stepdad got divorced when I was 12, he paid child support for us until 18. We've been calling him dad since I was 5, and consider him our dad, even though since I was 13 we started seeing our real father a couple times a year. We call them both dad. To clarify to each other which dad we are talking about, we say dad 1 or dad 2. Anyways, I would 100% get my stepdad to walk me down the aisle, even though I know this would hurt my biological dad. My stepdad is the one who has taken care of me, and is the one who deserves to give me away. My sister, on the other hand, would get my biological dad to give her away, I believe. Maybe even get them both to give her away like Opie suggested. But I think you have every right to be angry as they're unappreciative and taking advantage of you. Your stepdaughter sounds like a spoiled brat who has kept her biological dad on a pedestal no matter how lame of a father he has been. And your girlfriend is ridiculous. If I try that crap, my mom would lose it on me for being so ungrateful. And they're not just being ungrateful for financial stability, it's the stability of the family. And father, that's important too. You did the right thing withdrawing your financial help to this wedding, if these two women are really the selfish. Now for the first update. The immediate aftermath was tantrum and people sitting there mumbling while not actually saying anything to me, but to each other. After much yelling with a girlfriend about me being selfish, I spent the night in my home office and no one knocked on my door. Not once. Today's aftermath is kind of depressing for me. Girlfriend brought me the bride's wedding planner to show me how much work I was ruining. I thumbed through it and found a page in the music section for father-daughter dances. All of the songs were catered to real dad's taste. So I thought they were just being disrespectful, but now I'm feeling like they never really gave a crap at all. Especially since the menu included 2 ingredients I'm allergic to. That actually made me laugh. Either way, I'm glad to be done. Return to planner and ask her when she and bride could move out. Also, I never promised to pay for the wedding. I offered them the use of my home when they were sure it was going to be small. But other than that, all I've heard is how it's the bride's family that should pay. So, let it be the bride's family then. AKA, not me. Final update a week later. Girlfriend and bride are now moved out. They're moving in with the groom. It was very hard not to be petty with some of the belongings they took with them, but it's done. And I switched out the locks and now it's time for a brew. I can't believe how popular the story got, but I feel good to be given support by so many. If I find out what happens with the wedding, I'll let you know, but I can't guarantee that I will put in the effort to find out. From what I've heard, they're trying to scale things back and get his parents to help out. Girlfriend burned bridges when I found out she tried to write herself a check on our joint account the day after the unpleasantness. By then I had already moved money, so I guess I'm a bigger jerk than her, but I could feel it coming. That's all. Thanks. Sometimes you're having a kind of murky day with less than fun thoughts. Then you read something like this and just kinda appreciate that your problems are nowhere near as absurd as this guy's. Reddit has made me feel better about my late mother-in-law. She sucked, but at least she wasn't bad crap crazy. My mother-in-law and I have a good functional relationship, but I suppose if we weren't related, we wouldn't seek out each other's company. Our personalities don't complement each other, and there have been times where it's felt a bit strained or awkward. But my goodness me, she's such a wonderful person. She's generous, steps in to help whenever she can, keeps her head in a crisis, and can basically handle anything. Reddit has made me realize that the people worth keeping close are the good people, not the people you click with. I used to make jokes about having a typically awkward relationship with my mother-in-law, but not now. I bet the parents of the groom are on his case to not marry into such a messy and toxic family. This was my thought too. How is groom's family reacting? Like, do they want him to bail, or were they in on the fleecing? I'd say at least 2 options. Either they're trying to tell groom to bail and refusing to add money to the wedding, or they're cursing OP along with ex-girlfriend and bride, then trying to mooch off someone else. There was a post like this where the biological dad paid for the wedding, and then the daughter said that she wanted the stepdad, the guy the mother cheated on bio dad with, to walk her down the aisle. And then the bio dad cut the daughter off and didn't even speak to her even when he was dying, saying his last words. It was her mom's idea too, and then she wouldn't listen when literally everyone, aside from mom and stepdad, told her what a horrible idea that would be, and she should let bio dad do it. I still think mom secretly wanted a final FU to deny him the one singular honor he'd been looking forward to for 24 years. She got that, and then apparently just watched as her daughter tore herself to pieces with regret over the irreparable damage that had been done. Last story. How to tell my female 35, family and friends that my partner male 42 doesn't owe them anything just because he's rich. My partner, not married, is generally considered rich. He's a good person, with a good career and is a good caretaker. He loves and helps his family any way he can. He's a good father, even a good ex-husband to his ex-wife. We met when he was going through some dark times. I helped him get through many things and overcome some dark behaviors. For this reason, he feels thankful to me. So he spoils me, not only with love but with things too. For instance, I had a really bad accident. So he bought me a 6-figure car, which I didn't ask for, but he did it anyway. He takes me on trips 3 times a year, one with his family, one with friends, and one just the 2 of us. He spends money on cars, technology, and travels. But that's about it. We don't go to fancy places. We don't buy expensive jewelry or wear designer clothes. This is where my problem starts. My mom suddenly stopped working and asked me to pay for her car while she looked for a job. This was 2 years ago. She stopped working and I'm stuck with her car note. My siblings expect me to pay for their kids' parties because I can afford it because my partner is rich. My friend and I went to a concert and I paid for the tickets, and she was supposed to Venmo me for a ticket, but she didn't because I don't need the money. During a house party, some friends asked me to buy the good liquor just because I can, and got upset when I didn't. Siblings expect me to pay when we go out to eat. I don't even offer to pay. They tell me what they want for Christmas, things that I don't even have, like an LV bag. And the things I need to buy for my nieces and nephews for Christmas? Expensive things. How can I tell everyone to just stop expecting me to use my partner's money to buy them stuff? As I said before, we're actually very frugal when it comes to everything else. Tell them point blank, and stop spending time with people who take advantage of you. It's going to be an uphill battle, since you've let them treat you like this. If someone asks you for a bag, either ignore them or ask them point blank why they're asking for a bag, or ask them for something at a similar price point. You're almost certainly going to lose friends over this. If they ask for an LV bag, buy them a knockoff. Your family and friends have a lot of nerve putting expectations on you when you're not even married to your partner. But we teach people how to treat us. It sounds like your partner is a kind and generous man. Would this be easier for you if you remind yourself that you're not being kind to him by removing his ability to decide how to spend his money? Realistically, it's going to be hard to draw these boundaries at first. You may want to enlist your partner to back you up. Not to blame you for not letting you spend the money, which would be unfair to him, but to say things like, "We've been trying to keep to a budget for gifts," or "We've been examining our financial priorities, and we're cutting back on dining out." Just consistent messaging. The phrase, "Sorry, it's not in the budget," may be your friend. It doesn't imply that you don't have the money, just that you've chosen to allocate your funds in other ways. I would do a combination of things. 1. Set boundaries and expectations for things like gifts up front. What would the kids like for Christmas? I'm budgeting X dollar per child and Y dollar for adults this year. If you're going out to meal with your siblings, don't agree to go to expensive places and ask for separate checks up front or ask your sibling to pay and send them the money. Don't agree to pay for things like parties. There will probably be an extinction burst where they ask you for even more stuff to see what they can get you to take on. But if you hold firm, they will eventually stop asking. 2. For your mom and her car payment. Well, depending on your relationship with her and her ability to work, you may either be stuck paying off the car and then never agreeing to take on an expense like that again, or having a frank conversation with her about what her plans are for resuming work and taking the payment over again. It sounds like your mom has decided that you're her retirement plan, so you may also need to do some thinking about how you're going to manage that. If you want, you can redirect the money for expensive gifts and stuff into educational funds for the kids in your family, so that you're still using your resources to benefit the family, but you're not setting expectations for material goods. And let's face it, they're going to come to you when it's time for college anyway. Might as well get ahead of it. Thank you for your comment. You have great ideas. I'm going to start telling them I have a budget for everything. Christmas, birthdays, etc. You're right. My mom thinks I'm her retirement fund. She's always mentioned it since I was little. She would say things like, I need to save money to buy her house when she's old. But now, she's using me to pay for a car. The car is in my name because she doesn't have good credit, so I guess I'm stuck with it unless she finds a job. But that's the last time I use my credit to help her buy anything. Update. Family suddenly against me 27 male, not wanting anything to do with my ex and baby after finding out I'm not the father. Original story. All of it came out a while back. My now ex-girlfriend had a baby girl 3 months ago, and recently I learned I'm not a biological father. I kicked my ex out of my place and told her I'd never want to see her again. We had a few issues recently, And today I'm told by my parents and sisters that they don't agree with me not wanting anything to do with the baby because she's still my daughter. They were fully supportive of me since this all came out. And suddenly, because my ex is online over another issue we had, and how I'm abandoning a baby girl I still bonded with, they feel that they agree with her. Honestly, I feel so betrayed by this. Like I said, literally a few weeks ago they were fully supportive of me. Now they want to make me play daddy to a baby that isn't mine, with all the pain I'm still experiencing. What do I even do about that? Because now it seems like they have a pretty strong opinion about it. Now for the top advice before reading the update. If you're not the biological father, you quite literally have zero responsibility. Why would anyone expect you to take care of her or her child when you found out she cheated on you anyways? They should be ranting to the real father instead of you. Because the ex is stirring crap up online. It also probably makes him look pretty bad to kick her and a baby out on the streets. I'm sure people are reacting emotionally. Could be his family had bonded with a baby and already thought of them as theirs? I don't know. It's not a simple situation when there are tiny humans involved, as much as everyone likes to pretend the world is black and white. However, I agree you don't let a cheater who tried to baby trap you with another man's child live with you, and you certainly don't raise the baby. I would frankly tell the family that if they feel so strongly about it, they can invest their time and money raising that baby and letting the mom move in with them. The only way their argument holds water is if they are willing to step up and do what they insist Opie does. Otherwise, they're just crap-talking dummies who won't put their money where their mouth is. You're an adult. Do what's right for you. Your parents and sisters have no say in this. They're most likely projecting their disappointment of having a baby in the family onto you. Stay the course and don't let them make you second-guess your choice. Seek legal advice in your area to ensure you are not on the hook for your ex's well-being and a child. Extremely important. Otherwise, I'm sorry this happened to you. I'm glad you found out when you did. And now for the update. Man, did things really take a turn from last time I posted this. I tried talking with my family multiple times, at least to get them to understand how badly my ex cheating has messed me up, and the way it makes me feel with him trying to back me into a corner about the baby. I've told them she's not mine and I can't be involved in her life or my ex's. That's just too much for me. For a few days after, I thought they finally understood it. Then what do? My mom asks if they can come over to my place for some lunch, and they bring the baby too. Thank God it wasn't my ex too, or I probably would have lost my cool. This was the first time I ever raised my voice at my mom. It is to tell her to get the hell out. Her, my dad, and my siblings are trying to plead with me to just hold her and sit down to talk with them. Seriously, I couldn't freaking believe them. I didn't get physical, but in a way did have to push them out of my house. Got non-stop calls from them outside, and the baby was crying because they kept calling me from outside to let them in. It was a crazy time. My heart was even pounding. After that crap show, I called my mom up again to tell her I'm done with us. They're not to speak to me again, and if at some point I decide to let them back in, they are never allowed to ever bring up my ex or the baby. I told my mom I honestly can't believe she'd do that to me, her son after everything I've already been through. That betrayal hurts deep. She seems super apologetic, but that's not enough for me with the line they crossed. I'm sad that it had to come to me blocking them off for a long time. Most likely the rest of my life, since they seem so interested in having the baby in theirs, and I don't need that around me. Been spending more time with friends, going out, getting drunk, and having fun. It's a nice distraction, honestly. Here's hoping I finally have some peace. For what it's worth, I'm proud of you. Your family's all kinds of horrible, and you really stepped up and protected yourself there. This, my man, you set clear and firm boundaries that your family unfortunately don't care about. And the minute you give a damn about that child, your ex is going to use that as a leverage to get you to support her awful ways. For what it's worth, blocking family's hard, but family's supposed to have your back and tell you the honest truth when needed. But that isn't family you got right now. They're so blinded by grandchild that they don't care about the harm they're doing to their own son over having the baby around. If you've got friends with career opportunities outside of town, or things you've always wanted to do that family held you back on, now's your time. Find your new way forward. Good luck on your journey. I'm considering leaving once I know my name is off the birth certificate. Last chances of my ex are them trying to force the baby on me again. Also, I'm tired and feel I need something else in my life right now. Sounds like you need a lawyer if your name is on the birth certificate. No, the biological dad is getting his name added to the birth certificate. As far as I know, is fine with owing child support but won't be involved. It's really sad. To think they would be so invested in the idea of a grandchild that they're basically asking you to distort reality and completely disregard your own feelings to humor it. What indulgent, delusional, and baffling people. It sucks having to cut off family, but I want to make it clear. It had to be done, and you stood up for your own principles, and own pursuit of happiness here in a way I think you should take pride in. Be careful with drinking though, friend. I've lost years of my life to it, let alone my lifespan, and it never helps. If you find yourself drinking more and more, especially alone, then really reflect on that. Thanks for this. I see what you mean about the drinking. I've been kind of reckless with it, because right now it feels like I want to be in self-destructive mode to feel numb for a bit. But I'll try to monitor it and make sure it doesn't get too crazy. Next story is titled, Update. I, 31 male, am reconsidering my marriage after my father-in-law's death. Original story. We have been together for 10 years, married for 5. My father-in-law passed away at the start of the year, and it has been difficult. I have been there for her. I have taken over a ton of chores. I have been a shoulder to cry on, and I have made sure she has a space to talk about him and cherish his memory. Then it has struck me that she did none of this when my father passed away. He died 3 years ago. My wife was with me during the funeral, but she didn't let me break down or take time for myself. She always said that my dad wouldn't want me to cry about him, and I should carry on working, pulling 70-hour weeks because that is what he would have wanted, for me to be a good family man like he was. I believed her and just pushed back all the emotions. I was only able to mourn and talk about him properly with my best friend. I thought it was fine then, and I didn't want to bother her. Right now, I feel like my father's death was something he had to deal with, while her father's death is something that happened to all of us. I know it is silly to compare and contrast, but this pattern holds for most of our marriage. Her emotions and problems are our problems, while my emotions have to be processed outside our family. I honestly don't know how to bring this up. I don't think I am ready to leave her when she is still struggling, but bringing this up will just make things worse. I am terribly confused. Edited to add, it is a pattern. She is very considerate and generous in small things, but she can be selfish about big things. For instance, the reason we moved to our current city was because she loved it and she got an offer here. It was a pretty bad move for me in terms of career opportunities, but she made it clear that it was either the move or divorce. It sucked, but I made a move. Someone suggested therapy and I have been to therapy, but the money comes out of my fund money instead of our expenses. I'm not sure if she had to go, it will come out of her fund money. Now for the top advice before reading the update. Therapy money comes out of your fund money? That's a red flag right there. Therapy is medical care. It's treatment. It's preventative care. Does she pay for doctor's visits, over-the-counter pain medication, pads and tampons, etc. out of her fund money? Because this sounds like it's bordering on financial mistreatment. Therapy isn't fun. It's mental health care. Your wife sounds like an a-hole. She made you work 2 jobs worth of time each week when you were grieving. She made you bottle up your emotions. And now she expects you to step up for her when she refused to do the same for you? This isn't a healthy relationship at all. I see a lot of you giving and her taking, but not much in the other direction. Couples counseling or divorce. This sounds like an awful relationship to be a part of. Yeah, the idea of therapy money coming out of fund money is absolutely absurd. Sounds like Opie's looked on as an accessory to her life rather than a partner. I'd say couples therapy pretty sharpish. I'm sorry, Opie. Her telling you to be a family man was to deny you any grieving. And she should not be such a sexist hypocrite with support after a death. Totally yes. When my grandmother died, my dad broke down. Not only because his mother was dead now, but because his side of the family lives in another country 5,000 kilometers away. So the last time I saw her was probably 2 years before that. No one in my family cared about him being a family man then. He just was a son who grieved the loss of his mother. And my mom, brother, and I did everything we could so that he could book a flight the next few days to be able to be at her funeral and be there with his siblings. Sometimes it's okay to not be strong or 100% there for your immediate family. The loss of a beloved parent/sibling/other family member is one of them. And men are definitely allowed to grieve properly like everyone else in these situations. I'm sorry you didn't get the support you need when your father died. Is it a pattern with your wife to not be emotionally supportive of you, or was it just around your father's death? I can't really tell from your post. If you are just realizing that this is a pattern in your relationship, it's a valid and important complaint. If it was just around your father's death, I think you should talk to her about it. She may not have realized what she was doing. She may not have realized how hard it is for you. Sometimes when someone hasn't experienced a close death like that themselves, they just don't get it. But if she really thinks don't dwell and get back to work is defensible, you have some thinking to do. And now for the update. I ghosted my own wife. I want to thank all the commenters for pointing out how messed up my marriage was. I had been planning a trip to see my nephew for a while, and I finally decided to go. I flew back home, but I have been staying with my sister. I took all the important documents with me because I wanted them with me just in case. I knew that even if I try to talk with her, I will fold and stay. I needed space and I needed time. I'm surrounded by unconditional love here. Even if I hurt my sister or brother, they will be hurt and angry, but they will still love me. While my wife can turn her affection on and off like a switch. I have talked to her about divorce, and she is trying to win me back. She has even talked to me about moving back. I had to quit my job. It will hurt my career, but my boss was strangely understanding. I have also contacted a divorce attorney. I know it is going to be messy and long, but I want to do it. I really don't see a future for myself right now. And what is my most important motivation for getting a divorce that I have already made her angry? Even if I go back now, she will still be angry. I am terrified of what she will do to me to work through that anger, and we would go back to being loving after she vented. But I don't have the emotional strength to go through that, and I am deeper in every day I don't return. Divorce becomes a better option, even though I still miss her. I really do love her, but I can't live like this. I am terrified of what she will do to me to work through that anger. Write the statement down on a piece of paper and stick it in your wallet. Anytime you have second thoughts about the divorce process, just take it out and read it. Nobody should be terrified of their own marriage. For any reason. You deserve better than this. Exactly. She sounds like a manipulative bully. And the fact he is scared of her not buying her nice act reminds me of when the bully is forced to apologize by adults. You know the apology is performative art, and when they get chance to get you alone again? Honestly, solid advice. When I broke up with my last ex, I had to write a few of the things he did down, and read them over a few times whenever I missed him or felt weak. It's odd how terrible instances can just be drowned by a few kind gestures of love. It was rereading the really bad stuff and triggering those memories that kept me away and never went back. Go ahead and file for divorce. The sooner you do that, the sooner it will be done and she'll be out of your life. Ask the attorney how to arrange things so that all contact is done through them, so that she can't contact you directly anymore. Right now, she knows she can use her fake nice side. And it is fake, to appeal to your feelings for her so that she can use them as a weapon against you. Disallowing her direct contact with you takes that weapon away from her. Once that is started, get into therapy ASAP. Doing so will help you break the addiction to her toxicity. We can become addicted to toxic people just like we can become addicted to substances. And that will help you stay strong and allow you to truly begin to heal from the damage your wife and marriage have caused you. I am talking to my attorney and we are going to file soon. Honestly, her having to deal with a lawyer would be a good idea. Her fake nice side feels so real that I don't know if it is fake, but I know there is still a lot of anger lurking there. I'm planning to go to therapy. Thank you for commenting. Divorce becomes a better option even though I still miss her. I really do love her, but I can't live like this. Sometimes love just isn't enough. Start divorce proceedings so you can move on with the rest of your life. Going to file soon. I really want to get it over with. Now for the last story. Did I 30 male make a mistake in telling my girlfriend's 29 female a fair partner? We had dated for 4 years now and I thought things were great and sweet. She seemed emotionally supportive and we helped each other in our problems when needed. A few months ago though, when I was fixing her phone, I noticed flirty texts between him and her. I told her to stop with the flirting, but despite her promises, I found out from her phone, when I had to fix it again, that they were hooking up. I went to my friend's house and texted both of them that I knew, and then my relationship was over. The affair partner then called me and said he had no idea she was still with me. She hadn't told him that I was the abusive ex. He told me he wouldn't speak to her anymore and invited me to chat with him someday. The next day, my now ex-girlfriend came in and screamed me out of ruining a great thing. It got to the point when she tried to stab me, and I had to literally fight for my life by punching her out. Cops were called and she was arrested. I know I should feel relieved, but now I'm wondering if I could have just told her instead of both of them that I knew the affair and avoided the drama? You did the right thing. If you'd have talked to her, she'd have denied it, probably, and told her affair partner more lies. I screenshot the text to end up confirming it. You still did the right thing. Now he has the chance to review his decision to stay with her. You didn't ruin a good thing. She did by cheating on you. I don't think you made a mistake, and I'm glad you were away from her and unscathed. You called her out for the flirty texts, and she kept going to the point of sleeping with a guy. When you contacted the other guy, he felt like an a-hole because she lied about you and the person you are, so he dropped her out of respect, and also by recognizing that if she is doing this to you, she would have no problem doing it to him. And after all that, she still came after you, her boyfriend and significant other, about ruining a good thing that she had with that guy, despite being with you, and then she tries to stab you. I'd say you were lucky to be out of that relationship, as she tried to harm you over the fact that she cheated on you. It was more of how I handled it I'm worried about. I was definitely going to leave no matter. Update. Am I the a-hole for taking away my wife's access to our money? Original story. I have been married to my wife Ashley for 7 years. I am the only one that works, and Ashley spends her time volunteering at a charity she started. I am fine with this, as I make enough for both of us. In financial decisions, we have equal say. I will admit that I am the numbers nerd of the relationship, so I do the budget and handle our investments. My wife is equal input into the budget, and we both have to agree on it. Like many people, we are saving for retirement and a couple of other financial goals. Ashley's sister and her family are going through a lot of financial issues at the moment. My brother-in-law lost his job, and my sister-in-law is reaching out to my wife for help. They're asking for us to cover their monthly expenses. I said no, that while we have some discretionary money, we don't have that much. Both my wife and I get fun money to spend however we wish each month. So I told my wife that I would match whatever amount of her fun money she wants to give her sister from my fun money. My wife doesn't want to do that as she says that won't be enough money. She wants us to reduce the amount we are saving each month to help her sister. I refused. I do not want to jeopardize my family's future for her sister's present. Ashley was very unhappy with my answer, but I refused to change my mind. I found out last week that my wife gave her sister money out of our general savings account. I was furious. To me, this is a complete betrayal of trust. I confronted her, and her reply was that I forced her to go behind my back by being unreasonable. I was angry. I ended up going to the bank and opening up new accounts in my name only. I moved the balances to my new accounts. I left in enough money for the expenses that she typically pays according to our budget. Things like groceries, her gas, etc., as well as her fun money. I did not leave her without access to any money, but I did leave her with access only to money that she is supposed to spend according to the budget we both agreed to. I went home and told her what I had done, and now she's accusing me of financially mistreating her. I pointed out that she's the one that took advantage of my trust, not the other way around. That it is on her to prove to me that she's worthy of my trust because after what she did, I don't trust her anymore. She said that if that was the case, she should just leave, that she wasn't going to be treated as a child. I told her to leave then, because I wasn't going to give her the opportunity to steal from me again when it is clear she isn't even sorry for what she did. She'll have to stay with her sister. I believe I am completely justified for what I have done. She's the one that broke our agreement. Did I take it too far, though? This was the first time she ever did anything like this. Did I let anger get the best of me? Am I the a-hole for taking away her access to the money? Now for the top comments before reading the update. Not the a-hole. You nailed it there at the end. She stole from you. No excuse. My husband and I have similar financial agreement, and I simply cannot imagine doing what your wife did. Such a betrayal. So she has gone to stay with her sister, the one who's broke? So now there's another mouth to feed in that house. She's going to essentially be the sole provider for that household out of her own money? I think she'll be back. The question is whether Opie will want her back. Betrayal is exactly the word. Opie made a reasonable suggestion for the amount of financial help they could offer her sister's family, but that wasn't good enough. She stole from the person she's supposed to be in love with, who has supported her financially for the duration of the marriage, and then even had the nerve to claim financial mistreatment when Opie moved to protect his hard-earned assets. He is definitely not the a-hole. Actually, that's a good point. Will sister even want her now that she doesn't have the seemingly unlimited funds of support as monthly sister might have been hoping for? Will wife be out with sister and Opie? Hopefully we get an update. I came here ready to thank you were an a-hole from the title, but I think that what your wife did was awful. You said you would contribute the same amount of fun money as she did to her sister, doubling the loan effectively, and your wife went behind your back to unilaterally take joint funds. so her fun money won't be affected. You're not an a-hole. Your wife is being an unreasonable mooch. Normally, I hate how quick Reddit is to tell people to dump their partners. But if you don't have kids, now is a great time to consider whether you can handle a lifetime of this person and his behavior. Exactly. If the wife wanted to give a larger amount of money to her sister, then she could, I don't know, get a job? Not an a-hole. She was the person who was being unreasonable here. You did not mistreat her financially. I am not sure if this was taken too far. It sounds entirely reasonable for what you have written. I guess you need to ask yourself what you will do if she doesn't compromise at all. That is the big question. I love her, but I can't see myself staying with someone I can't trust. Now for the update. Well, it looks like the posters that commented that my marriage is doomed were correct. First, after reading the posts, I agreed that it was not fair that I had access to our savings and she did not, even though she gave some away without my consent. Following the advice of several posters, I contacted my bank and I found out that the account could be changed, so that while both of us could deposit money, it would take both our signatures to take money out of the account. This would give her the same control over the accounts that I had by putting them under my name. I contacted Ashley to let her know that I would put the money back in the joint account if we switched the account to require both of our signatures. She said no, that just showed that I didn't trust her. I told her I didn't, that she had taken money without my consent, so of course I didn't trust her. She refuses to change the account and I refuse to give her unrestricted access. So right now I am still the only one with access to the money. We also tried marriage counseling, another suggestion that posters brought up multiple times. The counselor asked both of us to say what we thought was wrong with our relationship. Ashley said that I had mistreated her by taking away her access to money. I said that Ashley had broken my trust by giving away money without my consent. It took a few sessions, but it's because pretty clear that we just weren't going to see things the same way. I wasn't going to commit to supporting her sister's family, and she refused to see giving them money without my consent as a breach of trust. The kicker came when it got to be close to the end of the month, and Ashley demanded, not ask, demanded that I put $3,000 in the account for her to use to pay her sister's bills. Her reasoning was, since she stayed there, we owe it to them. I told her she was ridiculous, and that if I wouldn't do that while we were together, why in the world would I do it now? She walked out of the session and told me that she wouldn't continue counseling until I agreed. I contacted a lawyer and filed for a legal separation, and will be filing for divorce. I found that I'm legally obligated to pay usual and ordinary bills of the household, but I am not required to pay any bills for where she moved to since she left voluntarily. So I'm doing what I am required to, including things like paying for her car insurance and her cell phone, but I'm not giving her access to any other funds. She has asked, more like demanded, I give her money as she will be getting it when we divorce, but I don't have a way of making sure whatever she is given comes out of the final settlement. So I'm refusing. I can't stress this enough. Obey your attorney. Do not take the high road or man up or any of the other BS things people are going to tell you that you need to do. You only need to obey your attorney. That's it. I'm sorry this happened to you. Best advice, and only advice to take. Do nothing more and nothing less. Do whatever your lawyer is telling you to do. It's too bad you don't have a prenup. Since she wasn't working, you might have to pay alimony. I hope things work out for you in the future, and I'm sorry you were taken advantage of like this. At least you know now how selfish and self-absorbed she is, and that reality will bite her hard when she realizes she needs to get a job and support herself now. From a comment Opie made after he posted the original, alimony isn't a thing in the state. Thank goodness, I'd say. Meanwhile, sister-in-law is sitting back, rubbing her hands together, waiting for the divorce payout money she'll convince her sister to hand over to her. Opie's wife blew up her own comfy life for what exactly? What an idiot. She needs to wake up to her bad attitude. Helping her sister is one thing, but what she did and how she went about it are very entitled. I hope no kids are involved. Have you spoken to your sister-in-law and explained what her financial demands have cost? We do not have children, and I have not spoken to sister-in-law. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to let my stepson return home without punishment after he ruined my daughter's book collection? My biological 12-year-old daughter Susan likes to collect and read old children's books, and she's become an incredible reader. She had problems with reading and learning before, and we were advised to encourage her to read. And ever since she started reading, which she does regularly, her skills improved. She also reads to her 2-year-old sister every night. I have a 16-year-old stepson, Levi, who can be a hothead sometimes. We don't have a son-dad relationship, but I respect him and he respects me, though he can act quite mean and selfish towards me and his sisters. He'd throw away stuff that belongs to us over small arguments, and teases Susan for spending a lot of time to read, calling her grandma. My wife and I discussed his behavior and had conversations and agreed on punishments, but Levi would go to his dad's place whenever it causes troubles, then have his dad yell at me for wanting to discuss a suitable punishment. Then Levi comes home days later expecting me to let go of what he did every time. It's frustrating. I got a call at work from Susan saying Levi took her entire book collection and threw them in the pool after she refused to lend him and his friends her camera for a trip. My wife helped get them out, but they were wet and some were torn. It was horrific because some of those books are hard to get and meant a lot to Susan as a part of her life. I was so mad at Levi that I came home to have a conversation with my wife to decide on a punishment, but he already packed a small bag and went to his dad's. I asked my wife how could she let him basically run after doing this, and she said he called his dad and came to pick him up after Susan said that I was coming home to deal with a problem. I went to his dad's house and he refused to let me see him. I told him how Levi was hiding from consequences, and his dad tried to justify why Levi was acting out by blaming me for how me and Susan treat him. He even said he'd get CPS involved if I ever tried to punish him, because I'm not his dad, so I have no right. Adding that what Levi did was a reaction to my daughter being mean to him. He told me to leave, because Levi won't come home till I promise not to do anything about what he did and put it in writing. I told him Levi should stay here with him then. He's not gonna come back till he get a proper punishment. His dad argued it's his mom's house too, and called my wife. And she asked to let this go, and we'll figure out some way to resolve it. But I don't think it's fair for Susan to have her books ruined and Levi getting away with it. They're asking me to let it go. But this will only encourage Levi to do worse if I don't deal with it now. It's been 2 weeks and my in-laws say I was out of line for banning Levi from coming home and are telling me to step back. But I refused. Edit. Levi's dad thinks that because I'm not his bio dad, then I have no right to punish him for whatever he does in the house. In the past, his dad caused issues when I used to take Levi's electronics that his dad bought as punishment. Then I got talked out of punishing him every time he did something unacceptable, whether to me or his sisters. I've arranged for family therapy, but Levi's dad refused to let him go. I'd like to mention that my in-law said that Levi is willing to apologize to Susan, and so this should be enough to get this over with. But I kept saying no, and for that I'm being considered at fault. Now for the comments. Not today, Hull. If your wife refuses to punish her son, then you need to divorce her. Or at the very least, move into a separate house with Susan and your youngest daughter until Levi's out of the house for good. If your stepson continues to get away with hurting Susan with no consequence, Susan is going to suffer greatly. This is a hill to die on. Edit. To everyone telling me that divorce is a crazy suggestion and is an overreaction, I would like to point out my suggestion specified that he should do it if his wife refuses to punish her son. I'm not saying that he shouldn't try to convince his wife first. I'm saying that if she continues to go along with her ex-husband and refuse to punish her son when her son does horrible things to his daughter, then Opie needs to separate his daughters from the stepson. If Opie does manage to get his wife on his side, then no, obviously he shouldn't need to divorce his wife. Agree 100%. This is a hill to die on. Not just for the daughter, but also Levi. He needs not only the consequence of his action, but intervention from a trained professional. I'd start with selling everything he has at your house and using the money to start replacing her books. A-Books is a good website for purchasing hard-to-find books. Another vote for this being a hill to die on, your daughter needs to see some justice here. Not today, Hull. You don't teach respect by acting disrespectfully. Children are smart enough to see hypocrisy for what it is. Justice is banning the boy from the house. Stealing from the boy would only be revenge. Solving the issue would be dealing with the mom who lets this happen. File a complaint in the small claims court for the value of the books. Keep it up with everything he destroys. When Bio Dad is on the hook for paying all of his destructive behavior, he'll change his tune. Now that sounds like a plan. I couldn't imagine losing my books at the hands of a sibling, especially considering the book prices aren't exactly going down with time. Last story is titled, Am I the a-hole for not telling my ex and her boyfriend that they should act like the soccer game was life? I, male 25, have an 8-year-old son who loves soccer more than anything. He plays in a team, he plays with friends, and even joins me and my friends on Saturday evenings. His mom wasn't in his life until he was 7. I don't know why she didn't want to be in his life, but I accepted it. I am saying this because till now, their relationship is rocky. His birthday was a week ago, and after he celebrated with his friends, I finally managed to get a whole day just for my son. Considering that I can't let him stay up till 1 a.m. to watch Copa America, I recorded the game of his favorite team, Colombia against Brazil, and we were ready to watch it on Saturday. A few friends of mine came with a Brazil flag and a Colombian flag, so that in case Colombia won, my son could laugh at my friends. Their idea. My ex and her boyfriend came too. No clue why she brought him, as we never invited him, nor did my son. We threw a few steaks on the grill, got ready, and started the game. Then the boyfriend of my ex wanted to bet on the game, searched up the stats, and noticed that at this point the game happened a few days ago. Instead of rationally thinking and playing along, he simply said Brazil won 2-1. I was too late, but still told him to shut up. My son went upstairs in his room and me and my friends wanted them to leave for what they did. I got a call later the day from my ex, saying that I should have told them this in advance. I simply hung up and ignored all the other calls. Am I the a-hole? Edit. My ex doesn't understand soccer, and her boyfriend wasn't invited. So I thought that I don't really need to tell her the game is recorded and not live. Who the hell places bets on a game at an 8-year-old's birthday party? Real winner, that guy. Never thought about that. And on top of that, for a sport he clearly doesn't follow, otherwise would not have needed to look up on his phone to find out the game was from 2 days before. Not the a-hole. It was obvious to anyone with a brain that the people in that room didn't know the results of the game yet. He spoiled it deliberately. You also didn't have the chance to pre-warm him since he wasn't invited. You're not the a-hole. You also didn't have the chance to pre-warm him since he wasn't invited. This point needs to be shouted loudly. Not the a-hole. The boyfriend wasn't invited, and common sense states that if it seems like no one knows the outcome, you keep your mouth shut. Not the a-hole. I feel so bad for your son. That was a really good idea you all had, and some prick ruined it. Your ex should have asked if she could bring him over, and given his lack of social awareness that he shouldn't have gone, it doesn't shock me that he's placing bets at a child's party. Yeah, but we ended up watching the Colombia versus Uruguay game, and fortunately Colombia won that one.